Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is Steve Ramoni, your host, and I'm excited to have my guest today. We've talked backstage in the green room, we've talked before, but what you're going to learn is life has its up and downs, but you can still succeed and be successful. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Steve. I'm looking forward to today's
This
conversation.
is it's gonna be so good. So, you've talked to me about layoffs, and you got laid off, and we talked about earlier. A lot of people get laid off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got laid off, but let's ask the reverse question. What would have life looked like if you never got laid off?
If I had never gotten laid off, I probably would never have started my own business, and I would have continued within the corporate world. I tell people I was lucky because when I graduated from college, I was recruited by some top-notch corporations, and I really never had to look for a job. People are always reaching out, so I was always moving forward. And when 9/11 hit, I was with an international startup. We were doing great. Main problem, my main office was 4.5 blocks from the towers in New York. And our primary clients were financial institutions. So, we got hit hard. And I was the managing director for international consulting. I opted to take a buyout and then sat around and said, now what am I going to do? Because up to that point, I had always been basically recruited. I didn't really have to look for a job.
Yeah.
And I started looking and said to myself, you know what? I went to college. When I was in college, I kept saying, I want my own business. I want to work with and help smaller businesses. I never did it. Maybe now's the time. So I started my own business for a couple of reasons. One, I had to keep working. I was too young to quit. I had to keep working. I had to make money. And I didn't want to go back and work for somebody else. As my husband said to me, you constantly make other people rich. Yeah. I don't care if we don't get rich, but I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't happy.
And this is great, Laura. I love what you're saying because catastrophe is the wrong word. A tragedy in your life of a layoff. That's tragedy because it's money and income. But for you, it opened doors.
It made me sit back and think. And something many people don't do is sit back and think, what do you really want to do? We kind of get caught in that rut and we keep doing the same thing over and over and over. We do what's expected of us. When I graduated from college, it was expected that I would go work for a corporation. My dad had his own business. I grew up in a family where a number of members of the family, not direct family, but that circle, had their own businesses. And my mom didn't want me to have my own business because she knew the ups and downs.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I was doing what was expected of me, not necessarily what I wanted to do.
That's very, very true because back in the day, we're not going to talk ages or years, but yeah, women were going to be housewives, raise children, cook, clean, do all that. That was the label, I guess is the word, right? And you didn't want to be
what was expected.
Yeah. And you didn't want to be, you broke that mold.
It took me some time.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I will be really blunt with anybody who says, well, you knew what you were doing because you just started a consulting business and you had all this consulting experience. And I tell people, guess what? I made dumb mistakes, just like anybody starting a business.
You were working in philanthropic charity organization and enjoying it sound like, and we were talking before in the green room, but you left that opportunity, which is a great opportunity to serve. Why did you leave, and how do you think it helped you serve even more?
I focus now, I say my business has changed over time, and it has, to doing what I do now. But I do what I do now because I know what it's like to get laid off. I know what it's like to get hurt and not be able to work. I know what it's like I don't want to say have a failed business because it wasn't failed, but 2008, the economy went south. I was working with smaller businesses with technology and technology strategy. They were pulling back. I know what it's like to see your business all of a sudden, I don't want to say crash because it didn't crash, but slow down.
Mm.
So when COVID hit, there were a number of people who had their own small businesses who approached me saying, we're struggling. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I wish there was a formula I could give to you and say, here's how to get out of the hole. But guess what? You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to think about how you want to pivot. And what can you do? What can you salvage? What needs to change? And you have to pick yourself up and go forward. You have to change with the times. And I feel comfortable talking to people about that because I've been there and I've done it.
Yeah. And pivoting is a service in a sense. You're serving your employees, your customers when you pivot, right?
Right. You are. Yeah, you are. You're helping them.
You mentioned big changes. What's one of the big changes over the last 10 years in your business that's happened, and how has it affected your business?
Within the past 10 years, your personal life comes into play. Can't ignore your personal life. In the past 10 years, we had some personal challenges with my husband almost dying. He's fine. He's in good shape. Nothing negative. But you take a step back and you say, wait a minute, life's short. How do you adjust and change your lifestyle and still serve people, help people?
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest things. The biggest change I made was probably, it wasn't the 2017, 2018 when I said, you know what, I'm going to help people who want to start their own business as a consultant. How can I help them? How can I do it in such a manner that they can be successful? How can I be there to support them? So that's how I serve now. I serve, and it is a business. I'm not going to say it's not a business,
of course.
but I make it a point to serve and help people succeed. And I do everything within my power to help them succeed. If they don't succeed, I don't want it to be because of me. I want it to be because of them. That sounds harsh, I know, but you got to do the work. And
yep.
I will be by your side. I will do everything I possibly can, but you got to do the work.
You're the guide, and that's powerful. That's important for people to understand when they jump into something, so their money's worthwhile.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned, I love personal and professional, and they do cross over.
They cross.
There's
you can't pull them apart.
Right? There's no work balance. I mean, you're dealing with a potential catastrophic event. Your husband dying. Thank God, praise the Lord, he's healthy and safe. But that affects your business.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Going through that, right?
Yeah, because you have to sit back and say, what's more important? What do I pull back on? And what it really forced me to do, and this is something I tell people all the time, and you probably do the same thing, Steve. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Because it really forces you to sit back and say, what do I absolutely have to do? And what don't I have to do?
What's one thing you did? I found out about this with your husband. What's one thing in your business that you did to go doing less?
Little dumb things. Little dumb things. I used to write more than I write. And I realized that I will always write. I will always have I'll have YouTube videos, things, but I didn't need to be doing as much as I was doing. Can I pull back on some of that? Can I outsource some things that, you know what, I probably shouldn't have been doing anyhow? And have somebody else do it.
Again, powerful, because that's your passion. I can tell how you're saying about your writing. You're passionate about it.
Oh, I want to educate people.
Yeah, but you took it away from yourself because you had this other take care of my husband. Passions can be put on hold is what you did, I guess, right?
I put it on hold, but I came back to saying, let's be realistic. What do I need to support the business? What do I need to support my life? How can I get the right balance in place? And I think that's something many people don't think about. You asked me early on about getting laid off and figuring out what to do next. You have to figure out what that right balance is. You have to figure out what you're passionate about, but it's what you enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great words. Passion and joy. I love you talked about writing as a great segue into this great question. What do you use that approach to write a book that was different than most people?
Yeah. This was as I was trying to get things back after 2008 and dealing with a number of things. I said, you know what? I'm going to write. I'll write a book. I'm the crazy kind of person that collects articles and has binders with articles in them and file drawers with articles. And I said, well, I have 3 book ideas. And I had written on the various topics. Which one can I maybe get a traditional publisher interested in?
Mm-hmm.
So I went with project management for, it was really aimed at small businesses that have to run projects, but they don't really need somebody that's certified in project management. But they need to figure out how to do it themselves. So I said, well, how do I get a book deal? Because everybody talks about how hard it is to get a book deal, particularly as a first-time author. Yes, I had articles published, but how do you get something as a first-time author? And I said, well, I'm going to leverage my knowledge in consulting to help me get the deal. I'm going to use what I call a targeted outreach approach. I'm going to be very specific as to who I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to do my research, who might be interested in publishing this book. And I came up with a list of 11, and I've classified them A, B, and C. It's like, hey, here's my top, but I'm going to aim 11. Maybe I can get one. And I mentioned my husband before, and he said to me, what if you don't get anybody interested? I said, well, if I don't get anybody interested, I'll figure out what to do then. Then maybe I'll self-publish, but let's go down the path and see if I can get somebody, because I don't know what it takes to publish a book. I just don't.
Yeah.
So I use the targeted outreach approach, which means I research the people, get to know who the editor is, figure out what they require, and I send personalized messages to each editor. And I followed exactly what the publication said they needed. So everyone was kind of the same, but they were different because every editor is different. And I'm proud of myself with this one, because I did something that, and I tell people, leverage what you already know. Many people think, hey, I'm going into a new career. I'm going to do something different. I don't know anything. Guess what? You do. All I did was leverage something I knew how to do.
Right.
And what ended up happening is I had 3 book offers within 60 days from top-notch publishers. And I'm not talking fly-by-night organizations. One organization, which is Kogan Page, the editor reached out and said, I like this. I can't publish it because I'm already publishing something that's too similar. But let me introduce you to the editor at Palgrave Macmillan. Palgrave Macmillan liked it. They came back with an offer. Didn't go with them, but they came back with an offer. McGraw-Hill came back. We like it. We're not publishing. But you know what? I think AMA would like it. And I had already reached out to AMA, and they had already reached back out to me. Didn't go with them either. But I went with somebody else who was, at the time, one of the publishers known in the project management area. But to me, I'm proud of that. And then the book in 2013 became one of 10 small business books of the year.
Yeah, that's
So
great. No,
as
I
a first
love
time,
that.
yeah,
Love it. Here's the thing that I'm hearing too is those book publishers served you
they served me. Yeah,
by giving you referrals. Hey, we can't help it. We're busy. We don't have time, whatever the reason was. But they're just saying, good luck, Laura. In your community, in your network, those people gave you other people in your network. Of course, you didn't go with them, but gave you the opportunity to relax and go, I've got
right,
offers now, which you were worried about, correct?
right. Well, if I don't get anything, okay, we'll figure it out. I did not anticipate getting. I would have been happy with one offer, but three, hey, that's but that's the power of leveraging what you already know to help you move
Yeah.
forward as well.
Yeah. No, that's so true. With your book and writing the book, do you see people, authors differently now that you're an author?
Yes. Um, I'm very careful when people approach me with books that they've written. Um, some of them are good, but some of them aren't. I did not write the book. I wrote the book to help me in the business. I'm not going to say I didn't. So that would be lying.
Yeah.
But I made it a point to write a quality book. I did not write something to have it become a business card.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very much into when people approach me, and something that happened during COVID is so many people jumped on the bandwagon to write books. Um, I'm very careful as to when people promote books to me and ask me to read them and review them and provide a little blurb.
Right, right. That's great because I think books can serve people if written right. And again, it's the industry and stuff. That's another way of serving to give more stories, more information to help people grow. What's one of your biggest disappointments in your business life?
Couple in my business life, I learned a lot by this disappointment. When I first went out on my own, the first consulting business was an IT management consulting business. And we were doing strategy as well as some other things for smaller businesses. One was networking. We got asked if we could help with networking. So my husband took over that part of the business. And my brilliant idea was we're spending a lot of time trying to inventory these systems, figure out what's going on. So we came up with a tool for us. People came to us and asked if they could buy it from us. And they did. But the biggest disappointment was in me. I didn't hire somebody to help me market it. I thought I knew what I was doing. And I got great reviews from top-notch places that they liked it. And I wasted too much time. And what happened was, you know how you have that bell curve? You can be too early, you can be right on, and you can be late. I ended up being late because I waited too long to do something. So that was one of the biggest disappointments I had with starting my own business. But I'm not disappointed because, well, I am disappointed because it didn't really sell. It sold, but it didn't really sell. You know, timing's important. And the disappointment in myself, I didn't reach out and get the help I needed. So I tell people now, get the help you need.
Yeah, that's a great lesson because you're right. Timing's everything. And you learn that. I'm sure you take that in your future life now. As you grow, you remember, okay, timing was wrong in the book. Anything in my life, I got to make sure the timing is correct.
Right. You
That's
have to
very
make
powerful.
sure.
Yeah,
And
that's so
the
powerful.
timing's correct. But the other lesson, valuable lesson, which I am very careful now to do, is if you need help, reach out and get the help. don't just assume you're going to be able to plug through on your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
You might be surprised if you really want the help. Reach out to somebody that's willing to work with you to get you there.
My dad used to say all the time, don't recreate the wheel. And your story about the marketing, like, I can do it. Oh, there's 10 million people that can market your book. They've already done it. And that's what you're saying here. Just get help. I call it the village. If you don't have your village, it's hard. We can't do this alone.
You
We
can't do
never
it
can.
alone.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. Well,
No.
we're running out of time here. I want to thank you for being on the show. Your stories are incredible. You're doing
Oh, thank
incredible
you.
things. You keep serving like you're serving, you're going to flourish like crazy. And I think you know that.
Well, thank you.
So
Well,
thank
I'm
you for
enjoying
being,
talking to you, Steve.
yeah,
It's
this is great. We'll have you back. I'm going to bring you back for part two of
okay.
Laura. That sounds good. Well, thank you, Laura, again. And we'll talk to you guys very soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye.